Please, I hope you don't judge me on these outfits I'm wearing. This next section is full of legal language that is more confusing than it is helpful. But in a nutshell, it tells us whose responsibility it is to enforce the FDCPA. So let's take a quick look. 814, Administrative Enforcement. Compliance with the FDCPA is enforced by the Commission, which is short for the Federal Trade Commission, also known as the FTC. The exception to this rule is if the enforcement has been committed or assigned to another agency, such as those shown under subsection B of 814. For instance, national banks violating the FDCPA will be handled by the Office of the Comptroller of Currency. Banks that are members of the Federal Reserve System, other than national banks, will be handled by the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System. And banks insured by the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, also known as the FDIC, are handled by the Board of Directors of the FDIC. And the list sort of continues. The text and language of 814 is not very friendly to the layman's eye, especially not mine. And it could be a bit complicated to understand. But for the majority of our students working for collection agencies, you need to be aware that the FDCPA is enforced by the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. If you have any questions about this section or you're unsure under which category you fall, you should talk to your employer or to your employer's lawyer. Now let's please get out of this thing before we both fall asleep. We're on the home stretch now and down to the last couple of sections. So please hang in there with me, okay? Section 815, Reports to Congress by the Commission. In a nutshell, the Commission makes a report to Congress once a year concerning the administration of its functions under the FDCPA. The report includes recommendations that the Commission deems necessary or appropriate. Now, some of these recommendations may include revisions to the FDCPA as well as statistical data relating to compliance with the Act and enforcement actions taken by the Commission. That's it. Next is our final video, Section 816. Section 816, Relation to State Laws. The FDCPA is federal law. It's important to note that in most states there are additional laws relating to the business of collecting consumer debts, and some of them are more strict than the FDCPA. Section 816 of the FDCPA addresses this potential dilemma. All debt collectors must comply with the FDCPA, whether doing business in a state with no laws concerning debt collections or in a state whose laws mirror the FDCPA. However, when a debt collector is doing business in a state with laws that are more restrictive than the FDCPA, the debt collector must follow the FDCPA and the laws of that state. Basically, the state laws are providing additional protections for the consumer in those cases, and you need to be aware of that. For example, in my home state of Oregon, there's a very specific state law restricting contact at the consumer's place of employment. In order to call a consumer at their place of employment here in Oregon, the debt collector must have made one unsuccessful attempt in good faith to call the consumer at home first, and done so during the day or evening between the hours of 6 to 9 p.m. And even then, the debt collector is prohibited from calling the consumer at their place of employment more than one time every business week. So, if you were to call a debtor's place of employment several times a week here in Oregon, you may not be violating the FDCPA directly, but you would violate the Oregon State Collection Law, which in turn is a violation of the FDCPA. As of 2012, there are about a dozen states or more that have laws that are more restrictive than the FDCPA. Please ask your employer for more information on how you should handle accounts in those states. As the laws in each state are constantly changing, it's imperative that you stay on top of news and updates and adjust your efforts to ensure that your efforts remain compliant. This is the last video in your training. You should now be ready to take your final examination and earn your FDCPA certification. Congratulations on completing the videos. I hope you enjoyed them as much as I did creating them for you. Do not forget that you can go back and view the videos as much as you want to before taking your final test. I wish you the best of luck in your career and look forward to providing you with more learning opportunities in the future. My name is Brian Paxton, and it has been my pleasure.